thread for trios. Mazzy showed a lot of them. Here's 10 more trios. Hi VC, this is the Plastic Soundwave Cult. I'm Brother Eric. Thanks for being here. So in my last video I did 10 duos, and there was another thread for trios. So I figured I'd do another one since Mazzy did one on that. The same rule applies for this one. I can only do it if Mazzy didn't show it or mention it. And again, it's not about competition and who's got what, but it's just showing a variety. I love variety, and it's about highlighting different stuff that, you know, how I found weird stuff in the VC, and how other people find weird stuff in the VC, or new stuff, or however you want to call it. So Mazzy actually did 2 videos. He did the main one, and he did an addendum. These are all the bands that Mazzy mentioned that I have in my collection that I'm not going to use, that got thrown out of the running because he did mention them. Blue Cheer, Cream, Jimi Hendrix Experience, Nirvana, The Police, Morphine, The Jam, ZZ Top, Rush, Beastie Boys, Violent Femmes, The Melvins, The Meat Puppets, and I thought, oh, I got Motorhead, and in the last 5 seconds he fucking threw in Motorhead. But lucky for me, it turns out that there's a lot more trios than there are duos, it seems. So actually this list wasn't too hard to do. I've actually got more trios that I could have showed, but I'm going to show some self-control and just keep it to 10. Okay, so the first trio that I got, it does get quite a few mentions a lot on different VC channels. Not a ton, but it does get mentioned once in a while. I actually discovered this band from my father-in-law. I recorded an album from him, not this one, but Budgie. This is their 3rd album. Never Turn Your Back on a Friend. And they're a Welsh band formed in 1967. Again, I don't memorize shit very well, so had to write it down. Bert Shelley on vocals and bass. He's kind of the main guy in the band. I think over the years, it's remained a trilogy, but he's the only original member. So as far as the original members go, and this was the last album that had the original members on it, Tony Borge on guitar and vocals, or Borge, Tony Borge, and Ray Phillips on drums. And this one's a gatefold. So Ray Phillips, Tony Borgia, and this guy and this guy are both Bert Shelley, who's the main lyricist. I don't know if he writes all the songs, but I know he does all the lyrics. He likes to play around with words. Another great album cover by Roger Dean. This one is actually pretty cool. I know that he did the one for Squawk, which was their 2nd album, which is another great album. So this album came out in 1973, 3rd album. Actually, this is the most expensive album that I have in my collection. It used to be Dope Throne, which was around $40. This one here ended up costing me like $45 altogether off of Amazon. Great album. They do a great version of Baby Please Don't Go. Bread Fan is probably the most famous song that they've done. Other songs on here, he's got great song titles. You're the Biggest Thing Since Powdered Milk, Riding My Nightmare, In the Grip of a Tire Fitter's Hand. Um, Very, very early metal. Came out about the same time as Black Sabbath and Judas Priest. They started in 1967. So I know Burt Shelley basically says that his two favorite bands were the Beatles, and then he heard Led Zeppelin. And to get an idea what their music sounds like, actually, listen to Rush's very first album. That's pretty much, to me, Rush's first album sounds like Budgie. Once Neil Peart came in, their sound totally changed, but that first Rush album, to me, sounds very much like Budgie. And speaking of Canada, Triumph. Here's another trio. Mazzy did mention Rush. Back when I was a teenager, my friend used to call these guys Rush Light. Not really. They do play. They're not so proggy as Rush is. I think these guys have a sound on their own. Definitely this album here, their more popular one was before this one, which was an album I'll put down right in here somewhere when I figure out what it is. And I used to have the one after this one, and the name of that one escapes me right now too. But this album is by far my favorite from them. The songs on here are awesome. Too Much Thinking, A World of Fantasy, A Minor Prelude, which is, a little minor prelude. All the Way is a good song. Battle Cry is a good song. Overture is pretty cool. Never Surrender is awesome. When the Lights Go Down is an awesome song. Writing on the Wall. I mean, this album is incredible. The trio for this one is Rick Emmett on vocals and guitars, Mike Levine on bass guitar, and Gil Moore on vocals and drums. And this is more like in a heavy metal style. A little bit more heavy metal than, say, Rush. I think these guys are a little bit heavier than Rush. A little bit more rock and roll-y and less proggy, less J.R.O. Tolkien-y. But this album here, you can't go wrong with. It's absolutely amazing. I picked this one up in a thrift store in Central California because this album was brought to us by Alan Ash, and I've got about 3 of his albums now that I bought on that trip. Such an awesome album. I think one of the coolest album covers too. I really do like this album cover. I liked it as a kid. I think it blows away the one that they did before this. So yeah, Triumph, another Canadian band that was formed in 1975. Really good stuff. I mean, they're compared to Rush all the time, and this isn't going to be a Rush video, but it basically breaks down to this is a very, very, very good album. Recommend it if you like metal at all. If you haven't heard of these guys, you need to change that. Alright, and you're going to see something that you don't see very often on this channel. Some jazz. Now this was kind of the easiest one to figure out because it is the Lewis, I don't know, let's get his name mixed up. This is the Ramsey Lewis Trio, Appendo ni Pomoa, I believe is how it's pronounced. I'm not a big guy into jazz. I don't listen to a ton of jazz. I found out that doing a little research that Ramsey Lewis Trio, it was made up of Ramsey Lewis. He played piano, electric piano, plays great electric piano. He does a version of Slipping in the Darkness on this. It's absolutely incredible. It's my favorite version, bar none. And he did, I don't know if he did this album, but the original trio for the band was Cleveland Eaton, uh, acoustic and electric bass, and Morris Jennings, drums and percussions. And that's pretty much what this band is. It's drums, bass, and piano or electric piano. Um, there's a lot of fusion with this jazz. I don't know if fusion jazz is the right word for it, but obviously some rock and roll. They add some funk into some of these songs. I find this to be, even though I like noise in music to help me relax, this actually helps me relax a lot too. It's a pretty mellow album. I don't see a lot of people mention Ramsey Lewis Trio or Ramsey Lewis on there. I found out that he is the most successful, if you can, I guess, making money at it, the most successful jazz musician, according to Wikipedia. I don't know if they get that right or not. So I'm surprised that I don't hear more about him. I really do love this album. The artwork on the front's great. I wish I could still see the mouse, but this is clearly a promo copy for the radio. Yeah, the songs on here are so good. Slipping into Darkness is, the war song. No vocals in this one, but oh man, there are no vocals across this whole album, which I think is probably what makes it a little bit more relaxing. As far as just music goes, it is so good. Please Send Me Someone, Love is a good one. So the title track, Apendo ni Pomoa, Love is Together, is Trilogy, Morning, The Night Before, and Eternal Peace. That actually flows so nicely from jazz to funk, and then back to jazz with a little jazzy funk in it. That's a great song on here, but the whole thing is pretty solid. On my Discogs, I give it 5 because so far, I guess if you don't include big band, because I do like jazz and big band, but then to me that's starting to straddle rock and roll and jazz. And even though this is mixed jazz, it's an absolutely phenomenal album. Jazz mixed with all different kinds of music, really. And if you get a chance to if you see this one, it is a really good album. I lucked out. This is a pristine copy. I got it on Discogs because I love that song "Slipping into Darkness" so much on here, and I had to have it. I had it originally on an old comp album with like all easy listening hits, but that version was actually much shorter than the 6 minutes and 13 seconds that's on this one. I think it cuts out at or back when I had that record, it cut out at about like 4.5 minutes or something. But yeah, Apendo ni Pomoa, the Ramsey Lewis Trio. That's the album I have, but that trio is pretty good. All right, so we're gonna switch it around again. This is a band from Scotland. Biffy Clyro is the trio. I found out about these guys watching one of the music channels on when I had cable, and they played the song "Many of Horror" and "Mountains." And "Mountains" I thought was a really, really, really well written song. I really liked that song, and so the only vinyl I have by them is Puzzles, which is kind of like their second trilogy or whatever. Their first 3 albums have a certain sound, and then albums 4, 5, and 6 have a definite. Even the last one, the 7th one, have a much more poppier sound to them. They sound a little bit like Foo Fighters and Fugazi mixed together. They used to be more on the Fugazi side before, and now they're kind of more on the Foo Fighter side. This is the first album of that kind of trilogy, Puzzles. Then after that, they came out with Opposites, and then after that, Revolutions, with both of which I have on CD. And this one is such a good album. Machines is a good song. Get Fucked Stud is a good song. The very first side on this whole thing is really good. Double album, 14 songs altogether. Beautiful, beautiful artwork. On the inside, the inner sleeves are really nice. Really top-notch job on all of this here. I really do like their marketing and just their general sound and everything too. Because for me, it's not just about the music. It's about, you know, how they say thank you to their fans on how well they put out a record. So this is a Scottish band formed in 1995. The main singer-songwriter on this one is Simon Neil. He plays guitars and does the vocals. Then it's also composed of James Johnston and Ben Johnston. They're two twin brothers. Ben Johnston plays on drums, and Jameson plays on bass and does backup vocals. Good hard rockin' poppy music. It's got a little sense of humor to it. But yeah, if you get a chance to see anything from Biffy Clyro or listen to them, I think you'd enjoy it, especially their 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th album. All right, this is my one CD entry. The Renegade Soundwave. This is a band I barely know anything about. I can tell you who's in the band. Gary Asquith, Carl Bonney, and Danny Briotet? I don't know. Electronica music from the late 80s, early 90s. This is their first album, Sound Clash. And this is just great, heavily sampled electronica DJ. I don't know what instruments these guys play. Even their Wikipedia page doesn't give you a whole lot. This has been like one of my mystery bands that I don't know dick about, but I love this album. They do a great cover of Biting My Nails with James Brown horns in the background. Blue Eyed Boy is a good song. Lucky Luke is a good song. On TV takes a little bit of listening to, but once you get into it, it's really good. Probably their other hit is probably A Robbery. Traitor is an excellent song. Space Gladiator is an excellent song. Murder Music is one of my favorites on here. Biting My Nails, Pocket Porn. They do a great version of Can't Get Loose to Using You. I Can't Get Used to Losing You by Andy Williams, if you remember that. The Phantom, it's in there. That's got some great quotes from the movie The Warriors. And then you got Ozone Breakdown. It's just all fast-paced electronica club music, house music, I guess. I didn't get into a lot of that kind of music, but these guys here nailed it. The guys' vocals are just so like a little bit like Soft Cell, but not so whiny. He just sounds so apathetic, and it's like a nihilistic way of singing. It's just, you know, like biting my nails. That's pretty much, I think I nailed it on that one. But if you've ever heard of these guys or haven't heard of these guys and you see them, pick up this album especially. It is awesome. It just makes you want to move. Great one for the car. All right, here's an obvious one. This was a huge album when they put it out for Green Day. From the Bay Area, but I want to say that they're somehow on the other side of the Bay. They weren't. I don't think they were from San Francisco. I think they were like San Jose or something like that. But they were formed in 1987. Probably most of you know who makes up this band. Billy Joe Armstrong, vocals and guitar. Mike Dirnt, bass and vocals. And Trey Cool on drums. This was their big breakout album when they switched to a major label. I remember first hearing Longview. This is a reissue, and basically the way you can tell is that there's a blank spot right here. And let me just grab that other one. This is my original CD copy, and you can see that they've changed the picture because it originally had Ernie, but apparently Sesame Street didn't like that, and so maybe because it's an album about drugs and masturbation and general youth apathy, they didn't want Ernie on there. He might be a bad influence on the young people. But that's how you can tell you got a reissue, basically, is that Ernie won't be there. Same thing for the CD. So, and surprisingly, these guys are still kicking around today and making music. At the time of this video, they just put out The Father of All Motherfuckers. Yeah, still around. I think most of their music is pretty good. I know people give them a lot of shit. Because they have good albums and bad albums and a little bit of a finicky fan base. But great band. I love these guys. I got several of their albums. American Idiot, and a couple others that I can't remember off the top of my head right now. Alright, this is Sleep. This is a stoner doom metal band. They're formed in 1990. They do a couple of really good albums. Dope Smoker is a great one. This album is a good one. I haven't got the Sciences yet, but I'm working on it. This band is made up of Al Cisneros on bass and vocals, Matt Pike on guitars, and Chris Hykes on drums. I'm still learning about this band. This is just some great sludgy, just boom, dun, 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 marching forward, stoner rock, doom metal. The songs on here are so good, and the album work is so awesome on this. You can literally stare at this shit the whole time that you're playing the album. Here's the guys on the back. The picture's distorted enough. I'm not quite sure which one's who. I think that's Matt Pike, and I think this is Cisneros, and this is Greening. Oh, I'm sorry. And I think this is Chris Hykes. I haven't got a chance to listen to this album as much as I'd like. But I do know that the first song, Dreadnought, is good. The Druid is good. Gypsy, Solomon's Theme, or Evil Gypsy and the Solomon's Theme. Inside the Sun is a good one. And the last song, Rain's Baptism. Just great fucking stoner rock. I mean, yeah. Great album work. I think they know their audience. And of course, Matt Pike will come up in a little bit later here too. Okay, so our next band is a trio of Just Oborn on guitar and vocals, Tim Bagshaw, or the original lineup, and Mark Greening on drums. Another stoner rock doom metal band, heavily influenced by. Really? Hey, psst, psst, hey, cut it out! I'm trying to make a video here. Stop it! Stupid cats. Try to ignore them. Alright, so they're an English band from 1993. This album here, again, beautiful artwork. Even the back is pretty cool. It's a heavy metal album with dolphins. There's the band. Definitely, they got a lot of stoner and satanic influences. They take Black Sabbath to the nth degree. Really take it over the top. I have 3 of their albums. No. Yeah. So I have 3 of their albums. This is their first album, Electric Wizard. Then I have Come All My Fanatics, and then Dope Throne. And they're pretty steady through every album. I haven't got the next one after that, only because it gets a lot of crap, and I definitely want to hear it first before I get it. But man, on this album here, Side B is a perfect metal side. It's fucking brilliant. Devil's Bride, Black Butterfly, and the Electric Wizard are all great tunes. Wooden Pipe is a really short one though. But the first side is also really good. It just takes you to a different place. That's all I can say, especially if you smoke a big fatty. Here's another band that I just found out about. I mentioned them in my Christmas video of what I got for Christmas. I ended up getting this one for my birthday, which is a little bit after that. Fuzz. This is Fuzz 2, and I have Fuzz, the first album. Fuzz and the first Fuzz album and the second Fuzz album are fantastic fucking albums. Again, great artwork. A band formed in 2011 with Ty Segall, which I finally learned how to pronounce correctly, on vocals and drums. Charlie Morhart on guitar and vocals, and Chad Ubovich on bass. This is the basic original lineup for the band. Again, great psychedelic, trashy rock. It's another one that takes you all over the place. Such a good album. It's got so many songs on it. Yeah, this is a great record. I've been listening to it a lot in the car lately. This is one that just goes all over the place. Sometimes to me it sounds a little bit like 60s psych, and then but it sounds modern. I don't know how to describe this band. But definitely 60s psych elements, but mixed more like 60s psych with like a Black Sabbath touch to it, I guess. Great record. The first one is a great record. As far as I understand, these are the only 2 albums that they have out. If you don't have Fuzz, you're missing out. And finally, an album I mentioned from my, I believe it was my Christmas. I got this one for Christmas. High on Fire. I've been listening to this album a lot more now. It's another Matt Pike project. He plays guitars and does vocals on this one. Jeff Matz on bass, and Dez Kenzel on drums. Again, another doom stoner rock. We got a theme going on in this second half of this list. They seem to do well with the trios for the stoner metal. Great album cover artwork. This is on red vinyl. I won't go too much into this one because it was shown in a video maybe just a few videos ago. So yeah, such a good album, especially if you like a mix of like Iron Maiden, Motorhead. You can hear where their influences are. There's even some stuff that sounds like Black Sabbath. They just do a really good job of paying homage to their idols, but still sounding fresh at the same time that it's something new. It doesn't get stale. This is another one I've been enjoying listening to a lot. I definitely want to find out more about this band. Need to get more of their albums. This is, I believe, 2017. I don't know if they won, but I think they got nominated for a Grammy for Best Heavy Metal. Don't know if they actually won with it. But this is a stellar, stellar album. It's so good. If you like metal at all, this is a great one. Get a chance to get it. I'm sure Mazzy won't be picking it up anytime soon, especially the last half of this list. But I figured I'd show my little take on trios, and those are my trios. Actually, it wasn't too bad, I don't think, this video. So, alright, from me and Mazzy here, go forth in peace.